Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have some pretty crazy news going on over here because today is the day where the PlayStation VR 2 reviews are now finally getting released, and people are actually able to go and see, have a hands-on talk, and give all their basically in-depth discussions when it comes to what they like for it, how it's good, and everything. But basically, a lot of folks out here know that this is probably one of the best pieces of PlayStation VR tech, and as well as also VR tech in general that we've seen so far, with it miles improving up on the original PlayStation VR, and as well actually kind of being a almost new standard when it comes to PlayStation VR in general. Now, as you guys kind of know too, we do have it coming out very soon with a lot of new games out there too as well, and so far, a lot of this stuff has been looking, well, a little bit better than expected. So we've had a chance to go and see and kind of comb through like a lot of these different types of reviews. I'm gonna give you guys the overview and kind of give you guys the thoughts and process on everything all in between. So make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. We have the Twitter and Twitch stream down below, we have the Target links down below, the Amazon links down below, and let's go and dive into, well, the PlayStation VR 2. So as I mentioned, this is kind of actually a really nifty and cool thing to have a chance to finally get to go and see, because we've had people now physically have hands-on, like here's over here from GameStop, where you guys can literally see the, like, I don't know, I guess involvement of the entire world as you're in the PlayStation VR 2. As you guys can see, it's number one, graphically, pretty impressive. I'm going to give you guys a little bit more of an in-depth talk on this one, but basically the games themselves have seemed very responsive. The actual overview of the games themselves have been pretty fun. Like, it's a fun little nifty thing, kind of thing like the Wii U. And as well, apparently everyone's been enjoying number one, the big spacious effect where you could actually go and utilize the PlayStation VR in a smaller area than you need to, like not a full-on wide open room, because it does have like that augmented reality that basically goes and shows that like where you're at in the room and kind of protect yourselves when you're using the VR itself. And for this, graphically, seems good. All the original games coming out here, like the brand new Horizon, also turned out very well. And everyone's first initial hands-on on the PlayStation VR 2 has apparently said it's one of the best things out there. So we've had a chance to see some gameplay. We've had a chance to see some people like give their thoughts on it. So I kind of want to go and highlight some of the bigger points. Number one is the fact of games. Now, one kind of big caveat and bad caveat here is that there isn't as many games as most people were hoping. Now, there is obviously like brand new tech. It's niche, you have to wait for the developers, etc. But so far, everyone's first initial games have liked it. So say like for Horizon, you gotta do a quick little overview over here, where Horizon itself actually had initial reviews, and everyone was saying how captivating, how stunning, and how truly Horizon the game actually is in regards to the PlayStation VR 2. This is also coming out here as well. So for like the really big high picture it was the perfect PlayStation VR 2 headliner. There was a little bit of tracking frustrations, which we get to in a second, and as well as also stunning. The world was beautiful, and it does also, funny enough, have combat translating very well. So we've seen the initial games too, and people are like saying, bro, they say, I literally can't imagine how many will come to PSVR 2 launch title as their first Horizon encounter, and then basically LOA aficionados will incredibly be comfortable with how the combat works. And it kind of makes sense, because a game like this, with let's say like using crossbows, perfect thing for VR and using this stuff. Changing your arrows, or using like swords, especially if you're kind of going through your body, it just makes sense. And apparently it has been fluid enough that a lot of folks are, well, intrigued with it and hyped up with it. And well, everyone's been liking it too as well. Especially now they have also different types of combat schemes and different tweaks to customize the play experience, and as well, even they send their preview, they experience motion controls for movement, which involve you swinging your arms into like a running motion to move, so something like this. Or as well, they also have different types of methods too. You can maybe go do things with like, I don't know, you can do things via the analog sticks, so just imagine like you're using a normal controller and like you're holding it, so like you're just pushing up instead of doing like, oh, you know, an awkward running motion is going through over there. And as well, it's just cool because there's enough differences, because I know sometimes people even like just doing the almost point and click for VR. I know I've done that myself before. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just cool. Like, I like the idea that we have so many different types of options and intuitive ways to make this better. And it also is kind of nice too, because since they have this, you can also have your hands also free then for using the combat. So, and they also are saying the combat and integration so far is like intuitive. Like you pull out the bow over one shoulder, kind of as I mentioned before, arrows on the other one too as well, depending on your dominant hand. And then with that, basically you can go and use that to aim and then shoot and go from there. I think it's actually very cool. So as well, they also haven't had fun with combat too. So like we're not only seeing the baselines of PlayStation VR, we're seeing it just basically involved in everything. Like people think it's like a fun experience. It's definitely niche and definitely costs a little bit too much, but we've also had other folks out here too even say that this actually might be one of the best amounts of money you've ever spent. Now this is usually day like one reviews coming out, so obviously they might be a little bit biased or a bit excited. We'll have to have more of the real reviews throughout the week, or it's always nice to sometimes see the negative reviews where it's maybe not worth buying the PlayStation VR. You may see a separate video on that one. one. I always like to cover both points so people could have like different perspectives, but a lot of folks out here are like, yo, the PlayStation VR 2 was $500 on the PlayStation VR. That actually may have been one of the best money I've spent so far. So it does still sink though, because you do have to have the PlayStation 5 console, $500, and the PlayStation VR, $550, and that is kind of a costly, well, experience. It costs a lot, but if you're someone who already has a PlayStation 5, it's not too bad. Or if you guys are someone who already has, like, I don't know, money / wants a VR, it's also not too bad too. So they've even had a sense to say where it's like, hey, you're in awe, like this person's literally in awe of the VR gaming, where they wanted to vow to have video games be different. They want to experience something different. And they've been around for a long time, compared even to Mario. But there is still some bad stuff too. So don't forget, they still have the things where it's like space. Like, you still need to have some sort of good amount of space, even with the augmented reality and making everything, you know, like kind of fine-tuned. You need to make sure it's good. And you also want to make sure it's like, you know, free from obstacles. You don't have a couch or bed stand in front of you. You don't want to get hurt, whatever it may be. They also do say there's multiple play modes available too. Then the most space intensive is room scale. And this allows playstyle more freedom of movement of actually walking around in your room. You need to have at least a minimum of like 6 meters or 6 feet on each side, 2 meters each. But it's kind of cool because even if you're in a smaller room, you could still utilize the PlayStation VR 2. Even if you're in a big room, you could also fine-tune whatever the sensors are showing you and allowed to go with it, and go from there. So basically in their living room, well, the TV and PS5 sit for them, when it was big enough for them to utilize it, and it was basically a 5 meter by 3 meter, and they throw in some sofas, a TV, table push to the side, and well, it was basically a tight squeeze for his room, but he still had a chance to make everything work over here, or be able to adjust the room setup, which, if you're in an apartment or different places, it may not actually always go work at the end of the day. So in most games, they said it wasn't really a problem, but one of the best available, and basically needs the room scale to work, so it could be a little bit of a hassle. Maybe get a tape measure, and maybe double check whatever space you have, because that can be an issue. But also, these things are also saying the controllers are dope, where like it looks nifty, it looks fun, like they do look a little bit strange, but they are a little bit of a pain though to charge. And as well, you also at least get the freedom too, because it's more on the wireless type side. So they're saying, if anything, recommending the PlayStation dock, the charging dock, which would maybe make sense too if you're to drop a lot of money, maybe have a chance to separate it on out and have a little storage area too with it. So basically, in case you forget to charge, or you have to charge it like for, I don't know, your friends coming over to checking it out, you can make it a little bit more cooler. They also mentioned though that a lot of folks have been getting motion sick too as well. But overall, whenever I did VR, it was usually around 2 hours, and I kind of felt a little bit mediocre myself. But apparently with the better, sharper screens and it being more fine-tuned and a slightly bigger eye scale, it might be slightly nicer too as well. But even with all this stuff, a lot of people keep on thinking VR is cool. And well, at the same time too, I think that's nice. Like, we're seeing brand new games coming out, and I think we've also seen a lot of leaks too. And there's been a very, very large amount of brand new PlayStation VR leaks with new games coming out and like things being worked on that haven't even been announced yet by PlayStation or Sony so far, which I do think is also a nice caveat to also go and see at the end of the day. So I like this. I think it's kind of cool. So it also as well too, when it comes to VR, I think it's probably worth the money. Like, I think it's cool. Like, I'm still on the fence torn because I haven't pre-ordered yet, but I think it would be kind of fun to go and have. So leave a comment down below if you guys are going to be playing it. They also did have some of the wires too as well, but the wiring did go and tone down a lot in comparison to PlayStation VR 1 to PlayStation VR 2 as well. So cool. I mean, at least it was like kind of basic on this one, but the good is good. So basically, they're saying on this one, even with like the negative notes on there, they're saying that the VR isn't like perfect as of right yet. It's not finely tuned as of yet, and there is going to be issues or kind of glitches or whatever. But most of those things you can either avoid because it's really good, or as well over time, like, you know, it's day one game. There's going to be experiences, day one patches. As developers have more time to fine tune or make like their second or third game, it might be a lot better too as well. Especially because I think this PlayStation VR came in a pretty good time scale for the PlayStation life cycle, because some of the life cycles have actually been a little bit more not as bad, I guess, at the end of the day. But overall, they're saying like, yeah, there's a lot of games. Like, look at how many games there are too. And all these games look and feel pretty beautiful. And the game itself feels good. The technology seems like it's worth the money. And at the end of the day, it seems like everyone who's had a chance to go and review and check out things like the PlayStation VR, as you can see over here from GameSpot, like, bro, it looks cool. Like, it's niche. Don't get me wrong, it's a little bit more niche than you'd probably expect, and like, it's different. You're in an augmented reality, it's weird. I don't know, it is like VR, but it seems like most folks who have had their hands-on experience and have had a chance to utilize it and play with it a few days so far, or make videos on it or content on it, have generally thought it was worth the money, worth the price, and well, as I even showed you guys, it seems cool. I mean, VR is not going to be the most fine-tuned experience because it's like just a lot hardcore to render, but at the end of the day, I like this. I think it's cool, and I actually almost seem kind of convinced to go get one myself. So I want to hear your thoughts and comments down below. If you guys are going to pick one up, or you have your pre-orders already set, leave a comment down below. Make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. We have the Twitter and Twitch room down below, with the Amazon links down below, with the Target links down below, and I appreciate you guys all so much for watching here in the first place.